me today. I'm excited to be here because I've been thinking a lot about, how we show up, visibility, posting, all of those things, hosting live streams, working with clients, all of those things that we do as online business owners. And this is not to say that, brick and mortar business owners cannot relate to that because they absolutely can relate to it. Uh, but I specifically was thinking about, how we're expected to be everywhere and the omnipresence and building a system, of course, and using tools helps, but of course this is important that we keep the human connection in it, like we've been talking about. But we are clearly in the AI era now, right? And it's interesting because when I was doing some journaling, I was thinking about some old sayings that may deserve, a second or a third look. Okay. And the first one is the squeaky wheel gets all the attention. Okay. Now, I remember when I was growing up, and if there was some kind of a problem or a dilemma, sometimes my dad would say, "You have to learn to speak up, Vic. The squeaky wheel gets the attention." Okay, I think there's another saying out there about the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Maybe that's the original one, and maybe the adapted one is, the squeaky wheel gets the attention. But I, quite frankly, don't want to think about like being a squeaky wheel and getting the grace, right? So I connect with the squeaky wheel gets the most attention. But I was thinking and I was journaling about that. And it's interesting because I think nowadays, if you want to use the analogy of a squeaky wheel, I'm not sure that it gets all the attention anymore, right? Like it used to, if you spoke up or if you were the loudest or if you were the most persistent, right? And think about it maybe in a community meeting, okay? Like maybe a local community meeting with a mayor or maybe in a company meeting, right? I can relate to that many times when I was with AT&T. So the person that's the most consistent, the person that's the loudest, right? The squeakiest wheel gets the attention. But nowadays, I'm thinking that it's more credibility. I really don't think the squeaky wheel gets all the attention. I really don't think that that's true anymore. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are, because by looking back, sometimes that's what can really help us to leap forward. So I encourage you to do that. And let me know what you think about that one. I have two other ones as well. Now, the the thing I wanted to say though is that this next one is something that I heard all growing up. And my dad would say it. He'd say, "It's not what you know, Vic, it's who you know." And that was really his reminder and his explanation to networking, to make sure that we talk to people, that we get to know people. My dad, I'd say he was more extroverted than anything, because he was very easy to speak with. He would go up to strangers. He loved talking to people, of course, that he knew. And quite frankly, in his profession, he was a blue collar worker and he walked the gas lines up and down the hills in West Virginia. In his profession, he needed to be able to speak to people. right? He needed to be able to stay calm if there was a gas leak. He needed to be able to problem solve. But, he always said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in that case, when I was journaling, what was coming up for me was that a lot of brilliant people remain overlooked simply because they don't know the value that they truly bring to people. Or, their confidence may be down. Their confidence may have suffered from, let's say, a layoff, and they were trying, they're trying to get their side gig built, or maybe, they've had some challenging times. Maybe it's something in their personal life, or the weight that they carry by, juggling many roles, as far as maybe they're being, their parents, maybe they're a caregiver, uh, to meaning their parents, meaning they have young children, or, you know, any children, because we all know that whether they're young, teenagers, or they're older, that they all require some attention, and of course, nurturing that relationship. But I really believe that a lot of brilliant people, and I think I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, but a lot of people really don't know their worth. And that's troubling to me, because there are people out there that can be helping others solve problems, but they're not able to help the others solve the problems because they don't know their own worth. Their confidence may not be at a point where they feel comfortable, speaking up or getting on a live stream. It all takes courage, but through the action and through being courageous through everything and open minded so that you can learn, understanding that everything isn't perfect, understanding that we all have tech challenges, no matter what. They're usually unplanned, but we just have to problem solve our way through it. That's it. That's what I've done for the last 12 years. That's what I encourage my clients to do, because there is always a way through, right? There's always a way through. It's just the fact that you just can't give up. And that goes along with today's theme that I've been reminding people about for several years. I'm going to say it probably about 8 years now, but I like to have themed Wednesdays as whatever takes Wednesday. I don't buy into the whole hump day. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's cute. I totally get it. Or, I don't buy into the, oh my gosh, Friday's almost here. I just buy into the fact that on Wednesdays, we have the opportunity to reset our minds and our actions and commit to doing whatever it takes to get to where we need to be. That's just can apply in every aspect of your life. We have to be willing to accept responsibility for the way that we're going to be responding to things, because obviously we cannot control, you know, a layoff. We cannot control if our business dips in some cases. Okay. I'm saying overall, of course we have to have a plan. We have to have multiple revenue streams, but there are extenuating circumstances. There are unexpected events. So what we can control is how we respond. And I learned that from one of my greatest mentors. When I learned that gave me so much freedom. And I felt the weight literally come off my shoulders, because I felt more freedom. I felt more freedom because of the fact that we have the opportunity to take the responsibility of responding the way that we choose, because we cannot, we we don't know what somebody's going to say to us, right? We don't know if we're on the short list to, be laid off. We don't know that. right? So, since we don't know that, what we can do is take responsibility to uh, to really make a decision. How are we going to respond, and how are we going to problem solve our way through those challenges? Okay, so it is important that that we seek to know people, that we network with people, that we seek to serve. Connect with people and see if maybe there's somebody that you can introduce them to. Uh, making sure that in today's AI era, we're leading as humans first. We're living in a great time because we can use technology to make our lives easier. However, we have to make sure that that technology is interjected at the appropriate times and with the appropriate departments. There has to be a plan. There has to be an architect. Okay. But that's not what I'm here today to speak about. I wanted to share with you those three old sayings, adages, and to kind of, just reflect on maybe some that are outdated and some that are still applicable, right? But the fact about, you know, not what you know, but who you know, um, it definitely, like I said, has a networking aspect to it. However, I want the brilliant people to feel confident stepping forward and saying, you know, I'm ready to give this a shot. I'm ready to see how can I help. If they're looking to build or scale their company, maybe launch, a side gig, whatever the case is. But so many people reach a plateau, and I've worked with so many CEOs and founders. They reach a plateau of, let's say, $3 million, and they're just kind of stuck there. And so they aren't meant to stay at the $3 million. They are meant to figure out what's working and what the gap is between where they are and where they need to be. Now, I know that all sounds simple and those are just words, but you know, taking action, doing some things differently, because we all know that what got us to the point of today will not likely carry us through to all of the many tomorrows, because we're always learning, we're always evolving. Therefore, we need to be open minded, and we need to be able to, reflect and figure out and work with a mentor, or, you know, work with your team to figure out, what is the best next step. But I don't want the brilliant people, the thought leaders of today and tomorrow, to stay silent anymore and to think that they're going to start tomorrow, because confidence comes through the actions that we take. Okay. The third saying, okay, I still call these adages. I don't know if that's appropriate, but the third saying that I thought of for my, past, which I use this a lot in some of my content, but if you build it, they will come. Now, I think obviously this was an awesome theme to the movie with Kevin Costner. Absolutely awesome with that baseball movie, The Field of Dreams, that was filmed in Iowa. And I live in the Midwest, so I can definitely relate to that. It was great movie, right? Great movie. However, I have found in the last 12 years, with the many founders that I have worked with and CEOs, that somewhere along the lines, especially back in like 2014, 2015, many people believed that if they built it, people would just come. And in today's world, even though we have so many connection points, right? We're really living at a great time, because I remember when I was in sales, there were limited touch points, because we used to say, with the research that we were privy to, that it would normally be, somewhere between 7 and 9 touch points before a client said yes, or before a client made a decision when I was with AT&T. But when I first started in sales in the 90s, there, I could either cold call someone and call them on the phone, right? To follow up. I could send them an email. I could send them a note, like snail mail, or I could like drop by and see if, or you could call it a cold or a warm call in person. I could drop by like that. But there was no social media. So nowadays we have more opportunities, more touch points, right? But people cannot work with people that they don't know about. People can't benefit from your services if they don't know about your services. So I am, I would say, I want to hear your opinion as well. Do you think that if you build it, they will come is still a valid statement? I do not, because I believe that it's our responsibility as leaders to make sure that we are visible in the right rooms with the right people, right? That doesn't mean that we have to be visible, and we have to be, all over the place. We have to have a strategy. You want your right people to think that you're everywhere. Okay. That is the ideal goal. And in today's world, because we do have technology and we do have systems, we can really maximize what is working. We can figure out what is working and we can duplicate that. Okay. But I want you to start thinking about, visibility. I view it as serving others, because if you are visible and you have clear messaging, then the people can find you, right? It's also, our responsibility to make sure that we are doing outreach, that we are in front of the right people in the right rooms, like I was saying. But, I truly believe that, you know, as AI, as we use AI to create more content and more automation and more noise, and people are becoming more selective. And that's one of the reasons why, when I was, just reflecting on that one statement, I truly believe that, it's not the loudest voice in the room. It's not the squeakiest wheel anymore. It is credibility that that is most important for people. The trust, the credibility. And people also, as I alluded to earlier, are looking for relationships. And they're looking, at experience, like, who else have we helped? And, how long have we been doing this? But understanding that, different things are important to different prospects. So when you are in front of the right people in the right rooms, talk to those people. Not everybody is meant to be your client. However, you can get so much intelligence from just going out and speaking to people. And that would be in a real life room or in a virtual room. We can do networking both places now, which is awesome because there's no travel time, right? We can do virtual networking. So we're living in a great time because we can use these tools, and we can really be able to reach the right people in the right rooms all over the world. And many, many, many thoughtful leaders have spent years believing that sometimes they need to become someone else. Like, maybe they need to become louder, or, they need to become more like Mr. Smith, or they need to become more like Jane. And in reality, They just need to become more of themselves. And I guess I should say more of themselves, and make sure that they are in the right rooms with the right people. Okay. So it doesn't mean that, people have to stray away from what they're comfortable with. I mean, now understand that if you are a leader that has not been used to being in front of a camera or, speaking on a stage, it does feel uncomfortable sometimes, and you are going to doubt yourself, okay? But if you have a message to share, if you have a service to share, there are people out there that need you, okay? So do it for them, because they may not get the help that they need if you don't start speaking up and get yourself in the right room so those people can learn about you, okay? So I'd mentioned this before, but what I'm really focusing on, and I'm hoping that you will join me in this movement, but I'm really focusing on building a movement and a conversation that I like to call built to be heard. I'm going to be interviewing different leaders. I kicked this off a few weeks ago with one of my favorite leaders, and I'm looking to interview more leaders. We are really looking to build a community. We have a community of people coming together so that we can learn together and from one another, and make sure that we have the accountability in place. So, we're going to be doing co working sessions so that we can really get from where we are to where we want to be as quickly as possible this year. So, I know that many of you have so many valuable things to contribute, and I hope that you will explore this and join this movement with us. We're going to be continuing the conversation next week, and it's going to be in the Built to be Heard theory. Sorry, it's going to be in the Built to be Heard series. I'm having trouble speaking. And the title of it is Why the Future Belongs to Thoughtful Leaders. I had my notes here on my phone, and Siri was thinking that I was speaking to her. But anyways, next week's event is going to be called Built to be Heard. Why the Future Belongs to Thoughtful Leaders. So I hope you will join us. I will be circulating invites to people that would like to attend. It is going to be a private Zoom event. We are doing some live streams like this, and then we're doing some more intimate private events so that we can network and really dive in deep to some of the subjects. So follow along. Please subscribe to my newsletter, Be Heard, Get Seen, Earn More Revenue and Recognition. If you would like to have some tips come to your inbox every Wednesday. And I welcome your thoughts. I welcome your feedback, and most importantly, your conversations, because it's through these conversations that we can really learn, how we can help each other. Okay. So just remember, or be reminded, because you probably already know this, that visibility gets you noticed. Nobody is debating that, right? However, credibility gets you chosen. And I truly believe you were built to be heard. So stop staying silent and get out there and help those people that you're seeking to serve. Goodbye, everyone. See you soon.